Let's try this enrichment question. What's the square root of x squared? It might be tempting to say that x squared all to the 1/2 simply can be multiplied such that the answer is x to the 1, or just x. But this is not completely correct. The true answer is the absolute value of x. Let's give an example. Suppose x equals 2. What is the square root of 2 squared? So the answer would be the square root of 4, which is 2. And this makes sense, because if we said incorrectly that the square root of x squared is equal to x, which is kind of right, here we got lucky. Indeed, the right side is 2, and here the left side is also 2, because 2 squared is 4, the square root of 4 is 2. However, if x is equal to negative 2, let's see what happens. The right side would equal negative 2, that's your x value. And the left side, what would happen? We have negative 2 squared, which happens to be a 4, and the square root of 4 would be 2. So as you can see, left side does not equal to right side, so something went wrong. And to the rescue, we have the absolute value sign. Because the absolute value sign makes negatives positive. So when we have x equals negative 2, the right side becomes the absolute value of negative 2, which happens to be 2. And now everything would make sense. So let's define the absolute value of x. The definition of the absolute value of x is case 1, just drop the absolute value signs. When it's already positive, we can just rewrite it as having no absolute value signs. So when x is greater than or equals to 0, we just drop the absolute value signs. In case 2, we can actually flip the sign. So the definition of absolute value of x can also be negative x, given x is less than 0. We can even draw this picture. We will learn later that the inner function here is x squared. It's a parabola. So the parabola curves like this. And when you're talking about the square root of x squared, the square rooting and the squaring, they cancel each other out. So instead of curving up, we now have a straight line. So on the right side here, we have a straight line, a 45-degree line. And on the left side here, when you square root something that's growing upwards, it no longer curves, it looks like this. So the square root of x squared looks like a line going uphill with a slope of 1, and to the left of this y-axis, it has a slope of negative 1, which happens to be the same graph of this one here. Y is equal to the absolute value of x looks exactly like this. If you said y equals x looks like a line like this, it is correct. But the word absolute value flips negatives to become positives, so it ends up looking like a V.